I'm just trying to help out with what we can here at the state level to help our DACA recipients, because I believe there's a pause right now where you can't sign up for DACA or can't renew. And that, I believe, is a huge hindrance for our DACA recipients. And we definitely need to work. We have a lot of work to do on that.
Welcome, everybody, to Chino Y Chicano. That's Washington State Senator Nikki Torres of Pasco. Coming up, we're going to talk to her about legislation that she co-sponsored that would help DACA recipients in the state. What's interesting about this proposed legislation is that Torres is a Republican, and DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, created under the Obama administration, is not something Republicans throughout the rest of the country tend to support. So we'll find out why she sees it so differently. But first, Matt, some breaking news. Actually, it's old news now. My stolen car was recovered. Let's have some applause for that. Thank goodness. It's been an ordeal even in getting it back, is dealing with insurance, getting it into a repair shop, and now at this rate, they think that it'll be ready, and I'll have it back in a couple of days. And then I got to go get it detailed, because just the idea that somebody else was in my car and God knows what they might have been doing, But all of this comes at a time when this thing about car thefts and carjackings, it's in the headlines and kind of just going off the wall here. So it's just, I got to tell you, it's just been stressful dealing with all this stuff.
Well, but it goes really deep, because most of these carjackings are young kids.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Yours maybe not so much, because they didn't trash your car, right?
No.
But a lot of them that you're seeing, they just out joyriding. I mean, there's every day there's a carjacking or a stolen car that is in pursuit, and it ends crazy. I mean, so there's something else going on here other than, Kias being easy to steal.
Right. And, we have to say that this is not just a Seattle thing, or a King County deal. This is happening all over the state. I mean, when we talked, we'll hear in the conversation with Nikki Torres, she talks about how it's happening in the Tri-Cities, where that's the base, along with some other counties of her district. But they're experiencing it as well. It's just... why now? Why it's just really going on? I know that I think they did say that some of the numbers have decreased some, but not enough. And obviously, we have a true problem here. In my car, I think whoever took it, they did eventually leave it abandoned in what was described to me as a seedy hotel off East Marginal Way. They did tear up the ignition and wiring and things like that. Fortunately, it wasn't used in a situation where they crashed into anybody else, and I am going to get it back. But just the whole idea of that, you had your personal space violated, just bugs me. So it's just hard to take, and it's been kind of stressful dealing with all this stuff, Well, not much fun.
There's, crime touches people in all the same way. It's a violation.
It is a violation. So, anyway, I'm glad to have the car back. It'll be good to know that it's back. Now I got to figure out, okay, how do I make sure I don't know that I can avoid having it stolen again. I hope I don't have to go through that again. All right. So dealing from stolen car to State Senator Nikki Torres of the 15th Legislative District, which covers parts of Yakima, Franklin, Benton, and Adams counties, and her legislation to help DACA recipients, and as well as her unique journey to the Washington State Senate. Here now is our conversation with State Senator Nikki Torres. Senator Nikki Torres, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, because I know you're busy there down at the legislature. I imagine it's hopping right now. Are you in between meetings and bills and all of that?
It's been a very busy week. We are at the end of week 6, actually.
Yeah.
And out of a 60-day legislative session, it's very fast and furious, as you can imagine. And we just got done. We're actually got done off the floor voting on bills that come from our Senate floor. They come from the House of Origin, so from the Senate. And now we're listening to bills that are coming over from the House. That's what we're doing so far this week. And
Right.
then I'm also testifying on mine that have gone over to the House.
Let's talk about your DACA legislation. This Senate bill, tell us what it would do.
So this Senate bill is pretty simple. When I used to run the Tri-Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, I had met with a group of constituents, of community members, and one of the things that some of the young students have mentioned that were part of that group was that, the information, we just don't know where to look for it. And they're like, we know we can get a driver's license, but when we were trying to go find the information that we needed to take with us, we couldn't find it anywhere. And so a lot of times they find themselves taking time off of work or school to go there, or to go to a state agency office and then to be turned away because they need another piece of documentation or proof, or like a utility bill, something. And they didn't have that with them. So they felt like it was a little waste of time, and it would be nice if it was just, on the website, because they know how to use a website. They're not technologically challenged. They're pretty smart.
Yeah.
And so they know how to go look for stuff. And, this bill will just help, will just make the state agencies post it on their website. If they offer DACA resources, to just post it on their website. That's it. We're not asking them to print materials, so there's no fiscal note attached to it. And we're not asking them to create other documentation or any kind of paperwork. It's just to update it on their website. That's it.
I'm a little surprised that isn't already there, considering that we have supported DACA in the state.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yeah.
That's why when it was brought to my attention a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, that's bizarre that that's not on there, considering that it's offered. So,
did you get any pushback from your Republican colleagues on this?
No, not here at the local level. I know at the national level, it's a little bit more of it's a little battle at the national level, but
there have been a lot of battle there because nationally Republicans haven't really favored DACA. Trump didn't, he wanted to cancel the program. So
yeah, he did, and I think that of course he was probably just elevating his base, but he was a Democrat once before, and so it's kind of interesting to see him kind of not value DACA, especially when they're hardworking young people that are here to live the American dream, and most of them don't know what it's like to live in Mexico because they were brought here at a very young age. So I think it's very unfair for them to be kind of outcast in that sense or looked at differently. I think they really need a hand up and not being pushed out, because they're here to work and also have that American dream. They want to go to school. They're taxpayers, and some of them own small businesses as well. And I really want to see them succeed. And so here at the local level, I think more, or at the state level, I think that we know our community. It's especially like the 15th district where I'm at. You have Yakima, you have Tri-Cities, you have Mattawa, you have Othello, large Latino population. So everybody knows they're very hardworking. I have friends that are business owners, and they're like, you know what? I would hire someone that says that they are DACA any day because of how hard they work. Yeah. And I appreciate them for that. And I love hearing that. And even Congressman Newhouse has tried several times to propose legislation to help DACA. And unfortunately, at the national level, as he said as well, that hasn't worked out very well.
Right. Well, that's the irony of it all, is that as much work as we can do at the local level, the state level, it can be wiped away with the stroke of a pen at the federal level. And that just seems so unfair. I mean, how can we affect anything from the state level to affect national policy on this?
Well, I think a lot of, unfortunately, we need immigration reform, number one, first and foremost, right? We need some type of immigration reform. We wouldn't be having the issues that we're having at the border if we had some type of immigration reform, period. But I agree that, sometimes federal laws do supersede the state laws, of course, when it comes to immigration. So I'm not trying to supersede whatever federal immigration laws are. I'm just trying to help out with what we can here at the state level to help our DACA recipients, because I believe there's a pause right now where you can't sign up for DACA or can't renew. And that, I believe, is a huge hindrance for our DACA recipients. And we definitely need to work. We have a lot of work to do on that.
Yeah, we really do. The bill has gone through the Senate, as I understand it. It's
Yes, it,
over in the House now.
It is in the House. Yeah, I believe it got exec. So now it's going to rules and it should be hopefully next week going to the floor for a vote.
Okay. And then once it, let's say, it gets through the floor vote, then will it go to the governor at that point?
Yes, after the floor vote, yes, it should go to the governor.
Okay.
And
has the
and
governor indicated that he'll sign the bill?
I have not heard, but I'm hoping he does because there's a lot of bipartisan support in this bill.
Right. Yeah, I was looking at the co-sponsors on this, and a lot of Democrats there. So that's
And
interesting. At
Republicans,
least,
both. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
both on
right,
this.
right. Can we talk a little bit about your background and how you became you were elected to the Senate in 2022.
Correct.
You replaced Jim Honeyford, who'd been there for a long time. You ended up you didn't have any opposition when you were running, which is kind of unusual, even over in the valley. Uh, how
Oh,
did you
actually, I did have somebody jump in at the
at
last
the
minute.
last minute?
Yep.
Okay. Well, by that time. So tell me about your background and your really journey into the political arena.
Well, when I was a little girl, I never imagined I was going to go into politics because, I was working in the fields with my parents picking fruit. And then I was a teen mom by the time I was 16. So it was definitely, I didn't graduate from high school. I am definitely not your model for the Senate. You're
Not
typical,
you're non-traditional, let's put it that
yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not the traditional model.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or for the legislature. So, I have my GED. I have a master's in business administration, and like I said, I have 2 adult daughters and 3 grandchildren right now. So, and grew up working hard in the fields with my parents, and that taught me hard work and ethic, and respect for law enforcement, respect for our elders, and just to be held accountable for anything that we do. And I think that that's kind of where my values align, especially, with family first, and we're very Catholic.
Mm. Yeah, I've been there. I know that.
Well, but what was the tipping point? I mean, running for office is not easy. I mean,
Yeah.
and even now, the monetary reward of being a state senator isn't great.
Oh,
I
there's
mean, it's
monetary reward.
I mean, it's considered a part-time job.
Yeah,
Um,
that buck 50 that they pay you,
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
So, I mean, what was the incentive? Why?
So it's funny because like I said, I never pictured that, right? So when my daughters were a little older and I was able to contribute back to the community by volunteering on boards, I've served on numerous boards, and then I ended up running at the Tri-Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. My good friend that was pushing me to become president of the Hispanic Chamber, his name is Martin Valadez, and he was the previous president of the Hispanic Chamber, and he just said, you know what, you really should consider running for city council. And I was like, no, you should. And well, it didn't take long, and he convinced me to do it. So just like he convinced me to be on so many boards. So sometimes it's great to have that person that pushes you and that sees the value in you when sometimes you don't see that in yourself. And he's been a great mentor and leader, and I really look up to him, and I'm really grateful for his leadership and for just pushing me to do things. And
How has your background in life helped you for what you're doing now, from running for Pasco, the city council there in the Tri-Cities, also then running for the Senate? How has it helped you? What are the things that you have learned in your life and the everything that you have experienced that you apply now?
I think that because of just my life experience in general, that I can relate to a lot of people in my community and speak with a lot of people in my community, and also speak with people that have opposing views because, everyone's, you should be able to have your own views. And I'm able to speak with both of them and work with both of them, and come to the table and invite people to the table too, because I think it's important to have difference of opinions at the table as well, and just the different stakeholders, because it's important.
Yeah. Well, you're bilingual, and what you have probably 50+% of your constituents are Latino.
Yeah, actually, the way the district is drawn right now, it's about 73%.
Oh, so
Wow.
that
Yeah.
much more. Okay,
Okay.
so let's talk about that because there was a federal ruling here,
It-
and asking for your district and others to be redrawn.
Mhm.
And
Particularly mine, though. Yeah.
right. So how does that affecting your district?
Well, I think it will have an effect on my district. It will impact the district a lot because they proposed several maps and a majority of them have drawn me out. So I think it will have a great impact on the way that the district gets, if it gets redrawn or, depending on what the judges decide.
It's a work in progress as far as how they're going to determine the boundaries for your district.
Yes, it is. I know that the party that is with the lawsuit has proposed a couple of several maps. I think they submitted a few new 5 maps a couple weeks ago. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I
Yeah,
haven't really paid attention to the maps as much. I'm just kind of waiting for the judges to see because I joke it's the floating 15th. It's kind of where
it really is. You're going to be fluid for a while there. Yeah.
yeah.
I just trying to understand this. So, will the federal judge in this case, be making the decision?
Well, he has a map master that's going to present the what they think is the most ideal maps, and then from there, the judge will choose based off of those maps.
And would that go into effect while you're still in office? I mean, you were elected in 2022, or is that for the next election?
I'm hoping it is for the next election, but we'll see. I'm not sure exactly what they're planning because I was elected, like you said, for 4 years, and this is my second session, and it would be just unfair to remove me or make me run again halfway through because I was elected by the people, both Latino and non-Latinos, to represent them in the 15th district. So I'm hoping I get to finish out my term.
Yeah. How did you become a Republican?
So, I get that question a lot. It's kind of funny. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I wonder why. Yeah.
have you never met other Republican Latinos? Yeah.
I have. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
have, because I actually grew up over there, so I know a lot of them. So,
Oh, okay. So it's not uncommon actually. I know a lot of them are my family members and they're small business owners. So we see that a lot. Somos emprendedores. That's what a lot of people come from Mexico and they
right,
they set up shop because that's what they like to do is and start their
right.
businesses and they don't like taxes. But raised traditionally, very traditionally in a Mexican household where my parents both immigrated from Mexico to the U.S. Before I was born. So, we're very Catholic, and just the values that they instilled in us. That's where my values definitely align more with the Republican Party.
Yeah, but how do you reconcile the increasing bigotry and racism that the Republican Party is running on the national level? I mean, that's a tough one.
Yeah, at the national level, I don't compare myself at the national level with what certain people are doing because just like you have with the Democrat side, you have people that are very extremely progressive or activists, and then you have people that are more towards the middle of the road and are willing to work with others. And I see a lot of that over here, actually, even with my Democrat colleagues. So we see a lot of the middle of the road and people that are willing to work with each other. And then, of course, I see the other side too. I see the extremes on both sides, the right and the left. So
Yeah. Do you see yourself in the middle?
I see myself more towards the middle because I'm one that, like I said, I've grown up around both parties. And so even though my values align more with the Republican Party, I I'm still able to work and listen to both sides and come to the table with them and say, okay, well, this makes sense, or or this one, no, I don't really like that because this will also affect businesses, or this is what I'm hearing from the business community, and but at the end of the day, you can't be pro business without being pro people. So, and that's where I'm always trying to come to the middle ground with both.
I'm sure you get asked this, but can you support Donald Trump?
We'll see who's on the ticket. I haven't seen. I'm not too impressed right now with a lot that I'm seeing. So, I mean, anyone can run for president, literally.
Well,
So,
as long as you meet the qualifications, I guess. But
yeah,
yeah,
as long as you're a U.S. citizen and can, yeah, meet the
did you
qualifications.
vote for did you vote for him last time around, or when he in
Uh,
2016?
did I vote that year? I'm trying to remember. It was a very full ballot, and gosh, I don't even remember who I voted for that year.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, don't. Yeah, so yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to go
So
back and look.
yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So you haven't decided yet, is what you're saying,
I
whether you
haven't
can support
decided
him.
yet. No, I haven't because I want to see what all they're going to bring to the table and what their objectives are and what they're saying they're going to work on. Because we always
Yeah,
hear that you hear promises of we're going to work on this, we're going to work on that, and then it doesn't get done. So I'm looking to see what it is that they're proposing and to see if they actually can accomplish it.
right. So do you get pressed in your community or asked a lot about your support on the national level for Republicans and where they're
I,
going?
nope, I don't actually. Not at the local level. I don't. And even with our county parties, when I go and I visit, I talk about what I'm working on. The national stuff, I leave that out and I tell people, whoever you vote for, that's who you're going to vote for. And I'm not endorsing any candidates, especially at the national level. That's not who I am. So I
Yeah.
will not endorse.
How is voter turnout in your district? I mean, for people of color in King County and stuff, the turnout is low.
It's
But
always
in
in.
your area, what is the turnout amongst people of color?
I would say it's been probably one of the lowest. People are busy working two jobs or out in agriculture, and they don't have the time or to read the booklet, read the pamphlet, do the research on candidates. So I think it's very helpful when we go out and knock on doors, because that's what I did when I was campaigning to try to get the vote out, and I think that helps a lot because when people meet you, you're going to them, not them having to go to you.
Hmm.
So or to forums, because even when you do forums, I would get a little disappointed because you'd have these town halls or forums, and that's not who you see there.
No.
They're showing up, and I'd ask who lives in the 15. I'd get a handful of people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well,
So
it's real
it'd be like,
interesting because people think that it's mail-in ballot and that it's
Well,
a lot easier. It isn't necessarily easier for people that are working, especially in agrarian areas, right? Because their day is long. I mean, they don't have an 8-hour day, right? And so for them to take time to fill it out, figure out how to mail it, and all the other stuff, it still is difficult. Is there any way that you can think of that would help voter turnout to make things easier for people of color?
when they're, I think like conference involving the school districts, I think would be great because a lot of times you'll see or community events. That's when the people actually come out at cultural community events, and even like I said, like the school districts when you're hosting either conferences or something, having someone there that can have a table set up and talk to the people as they come in, because that's where you're seeing the our Latino families or BIPOC community coming in for their children's conferences, and really just educate them on how to vote and why it's important to vote, because I think culturally, we aren't taught that, the importance of it. If it wasn't for my parents that were going through their citizenship classes when I was a young girl, I probably would never have voted when I was 18.
really?
If it was because of my parents, because they received their citizenship during Reagan amnesty. He was in 86.
Hmm.
So, and that's the only reason that they received their citizenship. So I would watch them and they would practice and they'd be, practicing the questions for the citizenship test, and they'd be asking me about it. And I'd be like, I don't know, I don't have that class, but but it was fun learning with them too. And like I said, if it wasn't for them going through those classes, I probably wouldn't have been as encouraged to vote.
Yeah.
So it definitely starts culturally at home.
For a lot of people too, any
Exactly.
interface with the government is never good, right? I mean, they just don't trust the government because of immigration, because of things like DACA. There is just a lack of trust. So why participate in a system that you don't necessarily believe benefits you? I mean, is there a truth to that?
That's where, again, the education piece needs to come in. Because culturally, again, we have that mentality of we're too busy, we don't have time, or we don't trust. And if we have people going out to events that we know the community is going to be at, especially our BIPOC and our minority community, then I think that's going to help educate, or be there to help educate the community on the reasons why.
And seeing people like you in office
Right.
Mhm.
must be encouraging because they see someone that looks like them, someone
Yeah,
who has the same background. I mean, I think that's so important for, people to step up to represent because representation matters.
it
Well,
does. Yeah.
yeah. And in your
It-
case, you're bilingual, so you can also communicate to them the importance of
I think a lot of them are shocked, like, oh, you know Spat. Well, see? Oh,
it.
no.
See, what do your parents think of you being in politics?
Well, my dad passed away 13 years ago. So
Mm,
fortunately, he didn't get to even see me graduate with my bachelor's or master's. So he didn't get to see me make it that far. He'd probably be very proud. My mom is very proud. And I had her here for my swearing in, and my sister from Phoenix came down as well to watch me get sworn in. So they were very super excited. And I was really happy and thrilled to have both of them here. And my family in Mexico, when I went to go visit in Mexico and Colima, that's where they live in Colima. Um, they were really excited. They were like, wow, because a lot of my mom's family on my mom's side, they're very politically involved. So they were super thrilled to see someone else, of the family be involved in politics.
yeah, you're an example of the American dream, the American story, true American story,
I thank my
from the
parents for
fields.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So what other bills are you pushing and hoping to get passed in this session? Short session.
Very short session. I've got some public defense bills because we have a very huge shortage in our state of public defenders and prosecutors, and it is affecting our court systems. It's pretty much on the brink of collapse. The caseload is extremely high for our current public defenders, and they're almost having to turn cases away. People don't get a speedy trial or proper representation, and we want to make sure that it's fair. It's fair in an equal system, and constitutionally, it's their right to have representation. And the other one that I'm really working on hard that I really want to see get also make its way to the governor's desk is the human trafficking training bill for hotels and transit
Mm,
accommodations. That one I'm really pushing for as well because we do have a big sporting event coming in 2026. You've probably heard of it. It's called World Cup,
yep.
and it's coming to the Seattle area. And we've already seen an increase in human trafficking, especially Washington State. I mean, we shared Hope International, which is a nonprofit. They gave us a C score, but an F overall. They gave the state an F overall on how we identify and treat our victims. So we definitely need to do a lot better. And one of the biggest ways is like, hey, let's make sure that it is consistent across the board on how hotel employees are trained to identify victims of human trafficking, so that we can then provide them resources and take care of those victims.
Do you think that the legislature is going to do anything regarding the issue of police and being able to do pursuits? That's become a big issue, particularly with I just experienced a car theft, and but I fortunately wasn't hijacked. I mean, they stole my car off the street,
Yeah.
but people are experiencing these things. Particularly, we've heard it this week in the news in the Seattle in the King County area of people being carjacked, and police really can only go so far in trying to deal with it.
We're waiting. That initiative to restore police pursuit was certified by Secretary Hobbs, and it's waiting for a hearing. And it still hasn't gotten a hearing yet. It's gonna probably have to be on the ballot,
Mm.
or it's gonna be an overwhelming ballot because that's what happens when you have too much stuff on one ballot on the presidential year. So I'm hoping people do see it and do vote for it to restore some type of reasonable pursuit. because we've seen an increase. Even Pasco had 175% increase in car thefts in just the month of January. I mean, that's a huge jump from the previous year.
Yeah, and I can tell you it's no fun having to deal with this stuff.
Yeah, and
It's just,
in the
yeah, I
urban
do. Yeah.
rural areas where we actually need to have a car because we don't have the robust public transportation system, that is detrimental to our livelihood and to picking up our kids or going to work.
Yeah.
So it does have a major effect.
What do you think it's going to take to change our immigration system or bring some type of reform? I mean, okay, we all know what's been happening at the national level. They brought it up. Now there's, first the Republicans said, we're not going to support this. Yeah, we're going to support this. And then nothing happens. We've been sitting on this for God knows how long. I mean, even George Bush couldn't get anything done. Why can't we make any progress on this? Because you know firsthand how it affects your community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we do need some reform, and I'm hoping that the adults at the table in DC can come together and come up with something and actually work together to come up with something.
Yeah. Well,
because
I guess we got to find some adults at the table. That's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you okay? So are you looking to do more in the political arena? Are you looking to be more than a senator?
Well, at this moment I haven't thought that far. I'm just hoping to be able to keep my seat and finish out my term.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm looking forward to right now. It's kind of it's not fun being in a floating district where you're just like, oh, where will they put me now? Or will they even keep me in? So that's what I'm waiting on right now, just to see where the lines are going to be, if they're going to stay the same, or if they're going to make me run again this year.
You're in a funny position. Not a funny ha-ha position, but a really kind of difficult position, since you're already in office, as to what's going to happen here. So
let's hope that you keep your position there, because you're doing such a good work. And
thank you.
And the state needs to thank people like you for stepping up, because what you're doing, is not necessarily popular among a lot of people in the state, but it's important and it needs to be done.
It does. And, and thank you for saying that, because it is definitely a lot harder, especially for a Latina woman, to run for office in a very rural area. And when others think that you should be a monolith and be a Democrat just because majority of Latinos, especially on the West Side, are. So, and, I'm the one that stands out like a sore thumb.
So, how many other Latinas are in the legislature? Do you know?
There is 2 in the Senate, I believe. Yeah, 2. So, and then in the House, there's 1, 2, and then Representative Ibarra, he's also a Republican. He's from Quincy.
Gosh. Yeah, Alex Ibarra.
Yeah. And he also grew up working in agriculture like I did. So similar background.
But of the women, so you're looking at probably maybe close to a half dozen, but that's it.
There's I can't remember how many there are in the House. I don't really know the House members too well.
Okay.
But I can think of 2 off the top right now, but I'm trying to think of who.
Do you guys get along? You get along with the other Latinas that are in there, and even though you may be from different parties?
For the most part, I can, in the Senate, yes, we tend to work very well together. I'd say that's where the adults are.
Ouch.
But, and I have respect for my colleagues in the House too. They do stay up a lot longer than we do voting on the floor, debating on the floor. So I empathize with them. And, I always joke about, I'm not House trained because I didn't come from the House. So that's why like, you're not House trained. That's why I joke about the adults are in the Senate.
Well,
in the legislature.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. I know that you are working us in between meetings and probably testimony that you have to make at different times.
Yes.
Well, we'll see let's stay in touch to see what happens with your redistricting and how that might affect you. And just keep at it. It's good to see a Latina and other Latinas in the legislature because, let's face it, if we don't have people that resemble us in our communities, it's that's the thing that I think encourages our young people to think that they can do it too. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you both. I appreciate being on your podcast and look forward to seeing you soon again.
Okay. All right. And in the meantime, I'll try to teach Matt a few more Spanish words. So
Oh,
that next time
good
we
job.
can-
Tacos.
All right.
You know.
Birria, tacos.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, todo eso. Okay. All right. State Senator Nikki Torres, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Adios.
De nada.
The Chino Y Chicano podcast is available on your favorite podcast provider.
You can watch the video version on YouTube and Converge Media, a leading producer of culturally relevant content in the Pacific Northwest. We'll talk more later.